Good evening. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. Okay. All right, we'll just get started in just a minute. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 9th and 10th grade parent meeting. My name is Michelle Pesci. I am the chairperson of Pupil Personnel Services here at New Hyde Park Memorial. For those of you who are not familiar with our department, Pupil Personnel Services is made up of the school counselors, our clinicians, our school nurses, the attendance workers, and our registrar. So we are really the support staff here at New Hyde Park Memorial. For a show of hands, how many of you are 9th grade parents? Majority, okay. So we have a great opportunity. Most of our high school counselors are here with us tonight. So I just want to introduce everyone because, as you know, starting in 9th grade, your child has a new school counselor who will stay with them from this year, moving all the way through their senior year. If you are a 10th grade parent here, you may also have had a new school counselor this year, but moving forward, that counselor will stay the same as well. We've had a lot of changes in our guidance department and a lot of new faces, but we are trying to keep that consistency now so you can build a rapport with the school counselor that your child has. So I'm just going to introduce everyone really quickly so you can put a face to a name. We have Mr. Shireen Cobb, Dr. Eileen Valdez, Ms. Lauren Pulsifer, Ms. Samantha Marino, and Mr. Thomas Mitchell. Mrs. Jean Lavenslager is our other high school counselor, and that makes up our 9th to 12th grade staff here. So to begin this evening, we are live recording our evening. So as we go through the presentation, if you have any questions, I just ask that you hold them to the end. We will be putting this presentation on the website with the PowerPoint that has live links embedded into it. So any of the information that we provide here, you can click on any of the links, which will bring you to either websites or PDFs, or just information that's really useful for you. So welcome to high school. Your child may have been here in 7th and 8th grade in our middle school, and now they're getting started with their high school career. So a lot of the things we're going to cover tonight include graduation requirements, transcripts, diploma types, our AP program, some of the courses and course selection and how they're choosing the classes that they're going to be taking throughout high school. We're going to discuss some of our Sewanaka Career Tech programs that high school students are eligible to apply for. We're going to give you a brief synopsis of the college process in terms of SATs, PSATs, ACT exams, and how students should be preparing for those and when they will be taking them. We're going to discuss the honor societies that we have to offer and when your child will be eligible to participate in those honor societies. We'll discuss our support services a little bit further in detail, who our department are and how we can help your students. And then we'll talk about the attendance policy. All just really ways that we can help support our high school students because really now we're starting to prepare them for post-high school. And I know it seems so early, but 9th grade is the time that we really start doing so. So tonight, Mr. Shireen Cobb and Dr. Valdez will be speaking with you throughout the presentation. And then, like I said earlier, we will answer any questions towards the end. If you want to stick around and meet your child's counselor, we can do that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to pass this on to Dr. Valdez. Thank you.
Okay, so welcome to 9th and 10th grade parent night. If there's any problems hearing us, just please let us know. Just raise your hand or something. So I'm going to start with talking about the different diplomas that our students in New York State can achieve. The Regents Diploma, the Advanced Regents Diploma, and for our students that are classified, they can try to attain a local diploma. The Regents Diploma is available, both diplomas are available with honors, and you can get the mastery designation in math, science, or a combination, and I'll explain those in a few minutes. But those are the diplomas that are available to our students in New York State. The difference between the diplomas, and honestly, most of our students try to attain the Advanced Regents Diploma. But the Regents Diploma, if you just, in the box, if you just change the word credits to years, it helps you to understand a little bit. So for the Regents Diploma, the course requirements, students need, for English, they need 4 credits or 4 years of class. Social Studies, 4 credits, Math 3, Science 3, And the difference between the two diplomas is then when it comes to load, which is language other than English. So the students that are going for the Regents Diploma only need to get 1 credit, and many of them have gotten that in 8th grade. So, when they took 7th grade, 8th grade, and the FLACS A exam, they got their 1 high school credit. But our job is to try to get them to do as much as they possibly can and to reach their highest potential. We know that SUNY schools, the State University of New York, and the CUNY schools, the City University of New York, they would rather see 2 or more high school credits of language. So we do encourage the kids to go on past that first year that they attained at the end of 8th grade. And then if they go on and take the 3rd year, that's when they'll take their FLACS B exam. And then if they go on and take the 4th year and the 5th year, they can actually get college credits. The students can pay a very nominal amount of money, and they can get college credits. Then they have to take 1 credit of art or music. Many of them do that in 9th grade. They take band, chorus, orchestra, or studio and art. Those are the options. Then they all, in 10th grade, mostly in 10th grade, take half a credit of health. And then they have to have phys ed every year that they're in school. And then you can see that bottom line between the 2 diplomas. It's so that the credits are still the same. A student going for the Regents Diploma would have to get 3.5 credits of electives, and a student going for the Advanced Regents Diploma would only have to get 1.5 credits. And honestly, most of our students graduate with many more credits than what they need, but that's the minimum that the state requires. And especially when it comes to senior year, we really encourage the kids to take a 4th year of math and a 4th year of science, or even a 5th year. We have so many more electives, especially in math and science now, and colleges want to see that. They want to see that their students that they're taking into their college have worked to their highest potential through all 4 years of high school. So we really do encourage the kids to continue on in their science and math past what the requirements for the state are. So the difference is also, and this is where sometimes it's a little bit harder for the students, the exams that are needed for the 2 different diplomas. The Regents Diploma, students only need 1 exam in English, and that's usually in January of 11th grade. 1 exam in math, and that's the Algebra Regents exam. 2 in history, that would be the Global 10 and the US History in 11th. And then 1 science exam. And for some of them, they attained that in 8th grade if they did living environment. And if not, they'll do it in 9th grade or 10th grade. For the Advanced Regents Diploma, students also need the same exams that I just mentioned, but in addition, and this is where sometimes it gets a little tricky, the students have to do 3 math exams. So they have to do algebra and pass that with a 65. They need the Geometry Regents exam, and then they need the Algebra 2 Regents exam. So those are the areas that sometimes students struggle in math. They also need a 2nd science exam, and they need the FLACS B, which is an exam, a locally made exam for world language. So they would take that in Spanish, French, or Italian. The high school transcript, many of your children started attaining that in 8th grade. So they took living environment, they took algebra, and if they took the 7th and 8th grade language and the FLACS A, they got 1 credit in their language. So many students did start getting their high school credits taken care of in 8th grade. But if you just watch the box that says 2021, you can see the names of each class that a student took. So this student took business law. They received a 99 in the class. They earned 1 credit, and they attempted 1 credit. So obviously, if a student didn't pass a class, the earned and the attempted columns would be different. And then at the bottom of each year, you can see a total number of credits attempted and a total number of credits earned. And then over in the far right-hand corner, you can see the credit summary for all of the years of that student's academic profile so far. And then below that are the assessments. And when it comes to the assessments, obviously because of COVID-19, we've had a lot of changes in the way we are assessing the students with the Regents exam. So you can see the little asterisks on the left says that due to COVID-19, students who passed a class that had a Regents exam as the culminating exam will receive an E as a Regents exam. So they got an exemption. So they just passed right through into the next level. As long as they passed the class, the Regents just was done away with and they moved on. Then last year, what they did was if a student achieved between a 50 and a 64 on those Regents exams, they got a special appeal. So those students, again, they were passed on into the next levels based on the fact that they got between the 50 and the 64. Again, we're trying to make sure that no students are penalized because of the change in their learning environment during COVID. Then at the top of the page, you can see their academic standing. So the student had a weighted GPA of 101.3 and an unweighted average of a 98.94, and the total credits earned and the total credits attempted. So all of that is helping the college who's going to see this transcript understand what the student has done and worked on for all their years of high school. This is the one piece of paper that is sent to a college, and the college is then able to see how much the child pushed themselves and worked hard during all the years of high school. Also, what's on the credit summary is senior year classes. So even though the grades aren't attained yet, the senior year classes are listed there as well. So advanced placement students, there are so many more classes of advanced placement for students to take now. We have a great advanced placement program. Students are allowed to take the class if they have an 85 or higher in the subject area. We really do encourage them to work hard in the class. It is a college prep level class. They're very demanding, and we do try to limit the number of classes a student takes so that they're not overwhelmed, but we do want them to push themselves. So when a student wants to take 4 or 5 APs, we do try to, curb that a little bit. But there's all different classes, like in 9th grade, the students can take AP Human Geography. In 10th, it's World History. They can take AP European History. They have AP Psychology. All the languages, Italian and Spanish, you can take AP. All the different sciences, chem, bio, physics. So there's plenty of options for the students, but we just want them to think really carefully because we have a no-drop policy. So if a student takes too many APs, they're not allowed to drop. So we really do encourage them to have the conversation with you, the parent, with us, the counselor, and then to think about what kinds of other things they have going on, what kind of extracurricular activities they have going on that might impede their doing too many of those classes. The AP exam is mandatory. They have to take the exam. It's usually the first 2 weeks of May, and the cost is $99 per exam. So we do just want to make sure parents do understand that it's a mandatory exam. There isn't an option. So now we also have, and there's a link in here so you can look at more carefully at the different CTE programs. But we have a phenomenal career tech program over at, it's housed at Sewanaka, but all 5 schools are participate in these programs. So some of them are 2-year programs. So you can see the A+ computer, and then the second year they do networking, cosmetology, culinary. The CCDI is sort of like making movies and cartoons with music and that type of stuff in the background. Automotive and construction trades. Those are all programs that students will apply for in 10th grade. If accepted, then they would go 11th and 12th grade. Traditionally, if the first year of the program is an AM program, they would be over at that program, AM, 7:45 in the morning, they start over there. And then they would be back with us to take their 5 or 4 majors for the afternoon. Then in their second year of the program, it would be flipped in the other direction, so they would have the program in the afternoon. Transportation is included if you live more than 2 miles away from the school as the crow flies. So if you live, fairly close to New Hyde Park, you may not qualify for busing. So there's a shuttle bus that brings the kids to and from the program in the center of the day. But if they finish the program over there, they may have to get home on their own. And if they start the program over there, they may have to get there on their own. So that's something that we can help you to see if your child would qualify for the busing. But just so you know that is not always a definite. We have a new program. You guys, I think, are the first ones to find out about this, but there's going to be a medical assisting program for our students. It will be a 2-year program, so you can apply in 10th grade for 11th and 12th. And it's, a little bit of the real basics, taking blood pressure, learning about syringes and proper handling and all different things like that, sort of prepping kids that might want to go towards a medical or a health field. We know that it's going to be very popular. So the students that are currently in 10th grade are the ones that will be allowed to apply for that. But again, it's all 5 schools, and it's only 1 class. So I'm going to guess probably 25 to 28 spots. Okay, then we also have a couple of 3-year programs. So those students that are in 9th grade can apply for these. Architecture and pre-engineering are the only 2 3-year programs. And then we have a huge program here where the students can come. They're brought down out of their social studies classes, and for us this year it will happen on January 13th. So the 8th grade, even though it's very early for them, but the 8th, 9th, and 10th graders are brought down for that. The reason why we do it for the 8th graders is that they also have the opportunity to apply for the Academy of Finance, and we want to make sure that those students know what their options are, because you can only do 1 program in our district. So if you're in the Academy, you can't do these programs. We also will have an open house for the parents of the students, and that will be on January 19th, and you'll have the opportunity to speak to the director of the programs and to the liaisons. I'm one of the liaisons for the CTE programs. You'll be able to see the liaisons and go visit the classrooms for these different programs.
Good evening. Can you hear me in the back? All right, so Naviance is a district-wide software program that we use. It helps us, it's a college readiness program, helps us with family connection. There's so many different tools that Naviance offers us from 9th to 12th grade, from 7th to 12th grade, sorry. In 7th grade, middle schoolers may have started working on assessments with their counselors. Some of the assessments are personality traits and learning about their intelligences. In 9th grade, we start resume building. So students start doing more volunteer work and community service and starting to find jobs. So we want to start teaching students how to put together resumes to use in the future. In 10th grade, we go over a career cluster finder to start getting students to think about the future and post-high school planning. And then as we get into 11th and 12th grade, we use it for more college search. And there's so many different things that are offered with the college search tools. We'll talk about SATs in a bit, but there's a lot of colleges listed on Naviance, and they give out information, whether it's tuition, SATs, population, location of schools. And we also use Naviance as organized documents on Naviance. So we use it for organization of documents that we send out to the schools that these students are applying. And obviously, as your child gets older, 11th and 12th grade, will get in more detail activities in terms of the college. So in 9th grade, we start talking about resumes. Resumes on a revolving document. It's never just set in stone. You always want to continue to build your resume, tweak it. Big thing for the resumes is we want quality over quantity, right? So it's easy to try to throw stuff for the resume. So you want to talk about leadership opportunities that you've taken part in. You want to talk about the sports that you're involved in, community service. volunteer, and important. You want to put your awards on your resume, whether it's academic or for athletics, and any other extracurricular activities and skills that you may want that job or school to know that you possess.
Just really quickly, when it comes to the resume, also remember that colleges have all these blanks. The application has a ton of blanks, and you want your child to be able to fill those blanks up. And unfortunately, there's a couple of students that will wait until 11th grade and be like, oh, I didn't realize. So that's why having 9th grade parents here is so important. Get your child involved. It could be community, it could be school, it could be sports, it could be Boy Scouts, it could be Girl Scouts, it could be church related. Just get them involved in things. First of all, it helps them to see what they like and what they don't like, and helps them to know how to head towards a career or not. So if they start working with little kids and don't like it, that's okay. Then they know maybe they should not become a teacher. Things like that. So every opportunity that they have is great. But also, as college, we're looking also towards college. We know that the college wants to see that.
A great resume could make the difference between your child and another student if it came down to it for admissions to a university. So that's why we encourage the students to continue to build early. College entrance exams. The PSAT is the practice SAT. It's a national merit scholarship qualifying test. It's 2 sections. Your score from 160 to 760. For each section adding up for a maximum score of 1520. All juniors will take it in October. It's the first standardized test, so it's a good way to give them exposure to these tests. It's an initial qualifier for the National Merit Scholarship, but it's tough. They look for scores in the top 1%. So that is a possibility to be qualified for a National Merit Scholarship, but our goal is to just expose these students of the standardized testing. And then we use this to go forward in terms of preparing for SATs or ACTs. We usually get those grades back in December, and we go from there. The SAT, we usually start juniors taking up in the spring of their junior year and fall of their senior year. They would have had exposure to it from taking the PSAT, and we'll talk to them about how they can practice for the SAT. The sections will be scored from 2 to 800, adding up to a maximum of 1600. And then for the ACT exams, a little bit more specific, you can get scored from a 1 to a 36 on each section, and then those scores are averaged together. On the ACT, you usually have English, reading, math, science, and then writing is usually optional. And you take those as well as spring of your junior year and fall of your senior year. Also, we do not have to send these test scores to colleges, especially now due to the pandemic. A lot of colleges are test optional, right? So we have that option to send the test scores or not, and your child can come and talk to the counselor to see whether it makes sense to send the score or not. We usually look at maybe 50%, and we try to figure it out from there. But colleges do not automatically see these scores, and most of the time, it's your choice to send. Some schools are test optional, some programs still do require you to send the SAT. So we still encourage students to take the test. Some students plan on playing Division I or Division II sports. And with that comes the NCAA clearinghouse and eligibility. The NCAA requires you to have a certain GPA of core courses in high school, and those are usually your math, science, English, and social studies courses. The Division I and Division II may differ a little bit, but for the most part, they're pretty similar. So if you're eligible to play Division I, you're eligible to play Division II. students, if a student wants to play Division I and Division II sports, they should be talking to their counselor and their coaches about the process. And as a district, we offer a service called Core Course GPA. It's a helpful tool for the students and any athlete who wants to play NCAA sport in Division I and Division II. A lot of the times we get athletes who decide they want to play Division I and Division II in their senior year, right? And then we go back, we look at transcripts, and they're not eligible. So what Core Course GPA does, it helps us raise awareness, and now our students are thinking about their grades and making sure they're taking the right classes in 9th grade. The Core Course GPA also helps calculate our GPA there. So the Core Course GPA may differ from your actual school GPA because in Core Course they're only averaging your core classes. It's also custom to the school. So any class that we offer here at New Hyde Park Memorial and that is eligible for the NCAA clearinghouse will be on the website. If the class is not eligible, then it will not be on the website. But to make sure, to be more specific, just have your child check in with their coach and their counselor if this is something that they want to do in the future.
Okay, so at New Hyde Park, we do have many different honor societies. I'm the advisor for the National Junior Honor Society. So the students who in 8th grade, the third marking period, have attained a 90.0 unweighted average. We do not round up or round down. If they have a 90.0 unweighted average, they were inducted into the Junior Honor Society. Then in 9th grade, they have an opportunity again by the third marking period. So it's an average of marking period 1, 2, and 3. If they make the 90.0 of unweighted average, they can be inducted into the Junior Honor Society, and the same thing in 10th grade. In the past, we did look to see that they had student involvement, or school involvement. Because of COVID, we sort of curtailed that a little bit, but we are bringing back some of the mandatory things like 5 hours of community service. So once a student is inducted in to the Honor Society, the following school year they have to have it's only 5 hours, so they can do it really very quickly. It's a start, but they get 5 hours of community service that they have to log sometime during the school year. Then in 12th grade, so Junior Honor Society is for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. 12th grade is a totally new honor society, the Senior Honor Society, and that is something that, it's much, to be honest with you, it's a much harder criteria to achieve. Students still need that 90.0 average, but they now also must show and prove community service, leadership, and school involvement. So the students actually have to get signatures proving different things that they've been involved with. So it's a different criteria, and our students were just notified a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, that they were accepted into the National Senior Honor Society. We also have subject-specific honor societies, as you can see, and all those are, the criteria is different. Most of them, your child can apply for them in 11th or 12th grade, and all that information is being put together and will be on the website shortly. But just so you know that these are all different honor societies that your child could apply for at some point, as long as they meet the different criteria for the different subjects.
All right, so we want to offer academic support as much as we can for students here at New Hyde Park Memorial. The first step for a student I would say is, communicate with the teacher. Tell the teacher that they're struggling or they just may want some extra help. And the teacher will do all that they can to give that student extra help, whether it be during the day, on the free period, or maybe before school or after school, depending on the teacher's schedule and the student's schedule. There's an example of how emails look. All your children have access to Outlook email, and if they put their teacher's last name in, their email will pop right up. But if it's not, it's usually the first letter of the teacher's first name and their last name at SawangaSchools.org. Every day after school, Monday through Thursday, we have homework center in the library. So there's usually teachers there willing to help students with their homework, and it's open to anybody. Operation Success, which just started this week, is also something we do after school. There's tutors available, and we're aiming to also help students pass their January regions with Operation Success. Students, if they need anything other than a little bit more than what the teacher is giving them, we encourage students to come down to guidance and let us know how classes are going, what they may be struggling with, the extra help they may need. Dr. Valdez spoke about Honor Society, and with Honor Society comes tutors. These students need volunteer hours, so they're willing to offer their free time to tutor students in specific subjects. And they usually fill out a questionnaire about which subjects they're comfortable with. And we usually try to match students up for free periods. We put students together, we link them up, and we have them figure out their own schedule. But then we just ask them to let us know what schedule they're on, how often they're meeting. We have the district attendance policy. I actually used to work in the attendance office in the district. For half-year classes, you're allowed 12 absences, and for full-year classes, you're allowed 24 absences. So that means on the 13th absence and on the 25th absence, you can lose credit for that class. The half-year classes are 0.5 credits, the full-year classes are full credit. 3 lates equals an absence. And after you reach the limitation of absences, there's an appeal process to receive credit. If a student is chronically cutting class, it's hard to appeal that with the unexcused absences. But if a child has been sick or there was other circumstances, they can possibly receive credit. And even if a student does lose credit for a class, they're expected to be in that class every day the same way. So we want to make sure that these kids are in their seats on time and attending classes. And if we don't go to class, if we don't come to school, please call them out, call the attendance office, and make the absence excused.
Just a little sidebar, the reason for the attendance for the student to continue to attend is because the appeal process usually doesn't happen until May or June. So if the student had a rocky start, wasn't going, or there was a problem, they were missing class, and then they showed improvement, that's when we can then appeal it and say, listen, look at how this child has improved their attendance and look at the grades and all that stuff. But if a student is failing in class, there's no reason to appeal it anyway. So the student has to be passing the class, and then we can appeal it. And again, like Mr. Cobb said, if there's any medical reasons, and there oftentimes are, then that's an appeal that we still have to do the process, but we know that there are situations out there.
We want our students to strive to reach their potential. With all that we do, we want them to learn about themselves and set goals for themselves. We want them to challenge themselves. We want them to take as difficult classes as possible, but within reason. Like Dr. Valdez said, we don't want them taking 5 AP classes because it's hard to do well in 5 AP classes, but we do want you to take 2 or 3 that you can manage and go from there. But we do want students to challenge themselves, especially as they get to senior years. Colleges like to see that you're still challenging yourself. Right? They don't want to see the senior with the 4 or 5 classes on their schedule. They want to see a senior who's still taking AP classes and has a full schedule. We want to take on as much leadership roles as possible and get involved in the school and the community as much as possible, whether it's sports, volunteering, whatever is possible. And a lot of students know what they want to do in the future. So your volunteer hours and the community service that you do can or doesn't have to be, but it's always good when it's aimed towards what a student wants to do in the future. And then time management, we want students to continue to do as much as they can and just be great citizens and students at the same time. We understand we're here academically for students, but we also want to be here for their social emotional learning as well. We understand how important it is to demonstrate empathy and resilience while building relationships to strengthen our school and our communities. We have a partnership with Northwell, our district, and our partnership with Northwell helps students in crisis who need immediate intervention. And Northwell is always open to working with us, and they're always easy to communicate with. We have a psychologist, Lisa Schuler. We have 2 social workers, Ms. Michelle Sinzone and Ms. Jennifer Vassar. And then you have the guidance also, you have the guidance counselors also. Whether it's your counselor or not, feel free for a student, tell your students to stop down and see one of us if you. We want them to feel welcome, whether they're our student or not. And then some final notes. This is a list of our school counselors at New Hyde Park. Ms. Pesci introduced us earlier, but we got seven senior high counselors and 2 middle school counselors.